Hey guys, it's Dylan, and a lot of you people know me from my music that I typically play every so often on this channel. What a lot of you don't know is the fact that I am actually a magician as well. There has been, I think, only one video, maybe two, on my channel that has shown off a magic trick or two. Um, I'm sorry, I really should have planned this better. What I am not a big fan of with magic is the fact that a lot of people take the tricks that they learn, they take the gimmicks and they take the tricks that they learn and do it over and over and over again. Now, with the trick, like, ring thing, where you take off the ring and you just throw it right back on, yeah, that's only one thing you can do. That's pretty much the only thing you can do with it. That's it. So, like, doing that is, it just gets repetitive over time. But, that's the only thing you do, is that you typically only do it once or twice. But then I'm pretty sure this was on Justin Miller's Divorce, where you would take the ring, you would take it and just snap it right back on your finger. Now, of course, video, you can rewind it, slow it down. That's kind of defeating the purpose of magic. So all of you people that are trying to figure out how it's done, just stop, please, thank you. But it's the fact that doing the same thing that you've been taught from the beginning gets old quickly. And one example of that is the trick double cross by, Mark Sandworth, something? No, not. I have the box over there, Southworth? I don't know, I'll have to look it up later. And a lot of people do the exact same trick that they do on the trailer, because they only teach the one. They only, like with the Odyssey by Caleb Morelli, all of the videos that I've seen of other people doing this trick, it is literally the exact same moves, the exact same video as the trailer, just the person themselves are doing it. And I don't own Odyssey, but if the only thing you're going to do and show off is the one thing that you've learned 1,000 times over, that's stupid. There's been a lot of magicians out there that say things, and I'm not going to lie, I've been at fault for doing the one trick that an entire thing is designed for. I mean, let's take the invisible deck for an example. You can only really do one trick with that deck, right? No, not necessarily true. You can do different types of tricks with the invisible deck all by itself. It may not seem like a different trick, but a different presentation changes the light of the trick entirely. Give me just one moment. Alright, so I have grabbed my normal deck of cards and my invisible deck. So the two most common ways that I'm sure a lot of people perform it are physical without the visual, or completely in your mind. And pretty much a lot of people would much rather perform and act out the movements, and other people would much rather do it in their heads type thing. So pretty much for a more physical performance, I've noticed that Penguin Magic started selling like 3 boxes for like $5 of tuck case that literally says invisible deck of cards, and that's the entire point of it, to bring more life into the physicalness. So you would say, oh, here, I'll grab my deck of cards and, here, just take any card. And that starts it. They would take a card, you close it up. Here, keep your card face down, make sure you take a look at it. I'm going to turn the cards face up. And, here, let's take it and spread it, put it anywhere you like. So you place it in, you close it up, and, here, give it a shuffle, and then they start shuffling it, they, do whatever weird hand movements, because they don't know how to shuffle a deck of cards, and then you put it away. And that's the more, physical version of the invisible deck. The more mental version is literally think of a card. I want you to think of a card. I want you to go through the deck, look through every single card, I want you to think of a card, and that's pretty much it for presentation. I have done different variations of that to where, I want you to imagine a deck of cards on the wall. I mean, I have an entire deck of cards right there in a frame, but aside from that, like, imagine a deck of cards, alright? I want you to separate them red and black. Pick one, red or black. Black, okay, cool, take away the red. Now, there's two suits, clubs or spades. Spades, take away the clubs, high or low cards. And pretty much, I would delve into it like that, just to kind of put a little story behind it. If you want to do it as your first trick, if you want to do it as something snappy and quick, okay, fine, that'll be, fine to be like, here, think of a card. And here, I'll take a look through these cards, and that card is the other way around. As I said, I've performed it a few different ways like that. Recently, I have been kind of using it as a little mentalism, guys, to where it's not really a magic trick. It's more, here, I have a card in here, and I'm going to try to force it upon you without you realizing that I'm forcing it upon you type thing. Because that's pretty much what mentalism is in certain cases. I know a few people that the way that mentalism works, it's cold reading and impressing the idea into someone else's head. Like the age-old trick, think of a number between 1 and 10, don't change your mind. Now, of course, the most natural instinct is for somebody to think of the number 7. And someone else, I think it was when Houchin had commented, that when you're doing it, to be like, think of a number between 1 and 10 and don't change your mind. With your finger, you draw a 7, think of a number between 1 and 10 and don't change your mind. Like, snapping as you go down, I don't know. The snap is kind of just to halt the process. Like, wait, is that a 7? Well, guess that's my number now. So that's been used in mentalism a few times. Back to the invisible deck. Sorry, I like to go off on tangents. That's kind of how I portray it. I want you to think of a red or black. Or I want you to think of a card. Is it kind of, is it a bright? Is it a bright card? If they say no, then, it's like, oh, okay, it's a solemn card. That's typically the word that I've been using. Oh, it's a dark card, so it has to be black. Now, would you say it'd be very good at golfing? Would you say that this card can golf? And I guess only if, I've never said that, but it's just something that popped into my mind. I think only a few people would actually understand where I'm going with this. Yeah, I guess it could be good with golfing. Like, oh, okay, it's a club then. Would you say that it's a royal family member? No, it's not a royal family member. Oh, okay, but I'm guessing it's something high up there. And then, you just kind of, I was just trying to do a sort of mentalism thing. But one way that I have done it is that I would have somebody take out a deck of cards. And, I have them put the card behind their back. You can have them do it. They could go through the cards and take a card and flip it over. Or they could look through the cards personally, take out a card and flip it over. But I kind of wanted it to be something impossible. I would have them hold onto the invisible deck. I would take the normal deck of cards out. Now, of course, they're all facing the same way. It's not a force of any kind, because if it was a force, then what do I need the invisible deck for? So they would take the cards, they would bring it behind their back, go through the cards, take out one card, and turn it over, face up onto the pack, and cut the cards. So now what happens is the fact that there's one card in the center of the pack, face up, which is the 8 of clubs. So from that, I would introduce the fact that you've been holding on to this deck of cards the entire time. It has been in your sight. There's no way I could have switched anything or even known what card you were going to pick. Correct. And they would agree with that because they don't know the invisible deck. So of course, if you know how the invisible deck works, then it's simple math. To where all you have to do is just look for the right card. I'm doing this out of frame, I'm sorry. And you show them the card, which is the one card that they had happened to turn over themselves. And that's just one of the ways that I present that I have been presenting the invisible deck recently. Now, with other tricks, such as what's, I guess a lot of people know it as David Blaine's hand sandwich. There are quite a few different ways of presenting it. Somebody would pick a card, the 4 of clubs. Some people would place it into the center, and with just a snap, it jumps up to the top. I would do this if I was going to present it as a ambitious card. Like after this, I would present it, or during, like this would be a start of an ambitious card. But I think it would definitely be more of a finale, but considering how you have the double on top, it's kind of, it's kind of harder to fit that in at the end unless you're able to just cut those cards or palm them into the top. So I personally, when I'm performing this, I pretty much just drop my hand, turn the card over as I'm showing it, and I'm good to go. I would take their card, I'd, put it away somewhere. I'm just gonna put it up here. Safekeeping. Turn over the next card, and what I personally do at this point is I like to put in the fact that they have their 4 of diamonds, and I have the 3 of clubs. I watch them to watch the 3 of clubs. Right? They typically look up at me, which is kind of it's the best part, because no, you're not watching fast, you're not watching close enough, because they looked away and the card switched. Is pretty much what some people could do. But now I'm like, here, watch the 3 of clubs. No, the 3 of clubs, and they're still watching this. I'm like, no, the 3 of clubs. And I take out the card, and they see the 3 of clubs. I'm like, no, this isn't the 3 of clubs. This is the 4. And I kind of do it it's happening right there. Like, they don't realize when it happened type thing. So that's one way to present it. As I said, you could present it as the start of an ambitious card, to where it goes into the center, they snap, and it jumps up to the top. You could have them hold up their hands, which is just typically what I do. It's the simplest thing. You can place the 4 of diamonds into their hands. I'll just keep it on my lap right there. Like here, I want you to imagine this is the weight of the world weighing down on you. Alright, we'll take a different card, the 3 of clubs, for example. Now, the reason why I said this should be at the end, not one of the finales, but, it's one of the ones where, you're showing an indifferent card. And it's very rare that an ambitious card that you're showing an indifferent card, but this is kind of supposed to represent the fact that, this is your bullier, this is the one thing that's stopping you in life. See, you're trapped underneath all this while you're arch rival is, up above you. However, all you need to do, kind of hard since they're holding onto the card, so you could have somebody else hold onto the card. So all you need to do is just snap, so they would snap, and right there, you jump up to the top. And because you may have mentioned that it's your arch rival, before they open your hand, you can say, and then you put him right into that same position that you were in. And there's many different ways of presenting the same trick that a lot of people don't realize. There's this trick called twisting the aces that I like to keep here. I keep it on the outside of my deck to for the sake of ease, and I typically use red back cards with jokers and the ace. Now, of course, you can't really show all 3 cards freely. So typically, I have yet to change the performance of this, the presentation of this. So I do the exact same thing. Turn the ace face down, take the card, and you would place it into the middle between the 2 jokers. Now, the entire premise of it is the fact that when you shake the cards, the ace of spades turns face up. Of course, not really that easy to see from far away. I'll make it easier for you. So instead of doing something like that, to where the card turns up with a wave, what you could do is, instead of waving this, you can just wave your hand over it and have it change. Even something like that kind of makes a trick different, more impossible, because with that little wave, that seems like all you're doing. There's nothing happening with this hand. It's not, a big motion covering a small motion that I'm sure a lot of people, or a lot of laymen actually are aware that something's happening there. Because you're showing such a big movement over here, clearly you're hiding something. So if you were to do something here, and this hand doesn't look like it's moving at all, then something has to have happened here, when in reality it has been this hand the entire time. One thing that I don't like about this, that if I could, I probably would keep a red-backed ace in this, and palm it away and switch it for the blue-backed ace. It would kind of make things easier. And by that meaning, you could show out the cards. I mean, I guess it could be something really simple. You could show out the cards, have somebody take a look at the cards, all of them being red back, and you would just, palm away a card, put it into your pocket and take out a different card, put it in, and since they've already seen the fact that all 3 cards are red and they checked it out, then they're not going to, be in a moment of disbelief where you turn it over and it's red. And it's kind of easier than, it's not easier, but it's a little more convincing than doing the frustration count for people who understand how that works. Because, if I were to have, 3 different colors, say red, blue, green, let's pretend that the back of this one is green, I could show you all 3 of them being red, and then with just a little wave, all 3 of them would be green at this point, and it's just, some people can catch on to it. Not everyone, but some people can catch on to it, and that kind of ruins everything about it. Another thing is that when I got Mark Southworth's Double Cross, that every time I performed it, I haven't read anybody, I haven't read any reviews of anybody asking this, any reviews of anybody questioning this, but it's the fact that, every time I perform it, they say, can you make it go from this hand to that hand? No, I can't. I'm sorry, spectator, I just performed the impossible. I cannot perform the impossible again. I'm sorry, I am a terrible magician. It's kind of weird But like every time I performed it, every time I performed it, the spectator asked, can you make it go from this hand to that hand?" And something I don't like is that even with the permanent ink, like a lot of people can wipe it off relatively easily. So I mean, you kind of don't need the gimmick itself. I mean, the gimmick itself, yeah, but the half of the gimmick that kind of makes it a little more impossible. I'm kind of, I don't know how to phrase this for the people in the know to understand, people not in the know to not understand. Anyway, so people could just rub off the ink with ease, and that's kind of defeats the purpose of permanent ink. Like, I know you're writing on your skin, I've written on my skin tons of times, and you're able to rub it off. And a lot of people are like, "Oh no, how do I get this off?" And I'm like, hand sanitizer. What? Why can't you just use hand sanitizer? What's wrong with that? So Mark teaches two different ways. Because it's the entire fact of, it's the entire fact of you're not going to perform the same trick twice, because the second time people are going to catch the special moment. So instead of doing it then, you would kind of, instead of having the X appear on them, you have the X appear on yourself, like the X travels, pretty much. So it's kind of an interesting plot in and of itself. They used a presentation, imagine the X is the magician. I've only gotten this trick a month or two ago, so I've been performing the same way. Imagine the X is the magician. However, when I'm performing for people that I know, I use it, instead of as a teleportation technique, I use it as a time travel technique. So where, we shook hands at one point in the past. Like, I may not have touched you today, but, we probably high-fived, we shook hands, other thing in the past. So I want you to take a look at the X, and he disappears. My fingers do not allow me to get rid of the X, by just squeezing my hand in the trailer. I have to, use help. So I use it as a time travel thing. So once the X is gone, he jumped from my hand all the way back then. He time traveled back on my hand all the way back then, and when we shook hands, he jumped from my hand to your hand, and then he rode your hand all the way back here. Kind of like the butterfly effect, where Ashton Kutcher jumped back in time, ruined his hand, and jumped back forward, and literally makes no sense at all, because of the fact that nobody else recalls the fact that he didn't have holes in his hand. Like, it was literally a momentary thing that, just appeared out of nowhere to them, when in reality the way that it's supposed to work is that it was along with him the entire time, so it would just seem like he's crazy at this point. So it's something like that. So yeah, that's the way that I'm performing it for people I know. I obviously, as I said, use the teleportation presentation for people I don't know. But more recently, I've had the idea of drawing an X on them, having it come to me, and then using the same, of course using the same gimmick throughout the entire thing. And those of you that have the trick, or at least know how it works, excuse me, or at least those of you that know how it works will know how it happens. So I would write the X on them, vanish the X, have it appear on me, probably my wrist or something. I mean, I could have it be back here, but, they had suggested your wrist because nobody could have really looked there. So have it appear on me, and then, oh, he's not done there, though. And from here, he disappears, and he appears on the other hand of the spectator. So now not only you were actually drawing on one hand, but you got rid of it, vanished it, and appeared it on the other hand. Now that is impossible. Like, literally impossible. Not only did you move the X, but you made it vanish completely and then reappear inside of a closed fist that you didn't touch. Unless, your ink literally traveled up their arm and down their other arm. This feat in Magic of the substance disappearing in your hand and reappearing in someone else's hand has been around for a while. I think the first time I've seen it was Chris Angel performing it with, I think, lipstick. Like, he would take a dab of lipstick on his middle finger, and he would put it on the unsuspecting person, take the lipstick, write it on his hand, or not write it, draw a circle on his hand, and just rubbing it alone kind of spreads it out and disperses it. And from that, it disappears and then appears on the girl's hand. Now, that in and of itself is, again, an amazing feat, but it's the fact that it's the same thing. It's the same trick. Like, yeah, okay, you can, you can make the X appear on his hand. You did that, 20,000 times already. I've seen you do it on YouTube 30,000 times on the same video. That's why half of those views are mine. But something else you can do, like, instead, and I'm just making this up on the spot because the entire point of being a magician is being innovative, creating different ways to perform, creating different ways to use the same gimmick and make it more impossible to last. That's why we have like 52 different variations of what is known as the Indy 500, Extreme Burn 2.0, Profit. Actually, I'm pretty sure the Indy 500 is that. I think I read that up somewhere. But pretty much, it's the same trick. It's slightly different, but it's the same trick. You're getting there the same way. And it defeats the purpose, in the end, of creating a new trick. That's literally, hey, all of my credits go to this guy for making the gimmick, but since I'm teaching you how I do it, I'm gonna make $25 off of this. I don't know how much Extreme Burn costs, but I know Profit by, I think, Mark Isaacson costs $20. And literally, from my understanding, it's him creating the gimmick, showing you how he creates the gimmick. And I think the only thing different between the Extreme Burn and Profit is the weight. I'm pretty sure that's in Extreme Burn, and if it is, then I'm pretty sure that's the only difference. Like, legitimately, it's the same trick, but yet Mark is making $20 off of it, while, someone else buying Extreme Burn from, a couple years ago, it's the same trick. So something you could do with Double Cross is you would get the gimmick. You're like, oh, here, let me take the card. You take the card and you're like, okay, I want you to, here, we'll take the card and we'll lose it in the deck. And you place it into the middle of the deck, you shuffle it, you do whatever, you have them shuffle it. And the entire point behind it is the fact that, they're like, cards are out of your hand. You never touch the cards. And you ask them, like, I never touched the cards, right? And they'll say you never touched the cards. Because in reality, all you do, put the cards away, you shuffled it, you gave it away, nothing in your hand. They shuffled it, cut, they did everything. The cards are out of your hands the entire time. And then you bring out the magician. The magician is going to find your card. And once he vanishes, look through your card. I want you to look for your card. You signed it, right? So they signed it. So they look for it because they know what card it is and their signature is on it, so it's kind of hard to fake. So they find their card, and to their amazement, the X is on it. Now that's something different that you can do with the same trick. Just my entire point behind this is the fact that just because they show you one trick with the gimmick doesn't mean that's the only trick you have to do. I created this. I guess it could be a motto. Yeah, I created this comment that I was telling people, and it's pretty much something that a lot of people have said, not necessarily this way or this order, but it's pretty much what everybody has said. Where pretty much the trick is, the gimmick is, what performs the trick, but the trick is only one path. Imagine the gimmick is a car, right? So the gimmick is a car, and this car can take you anywhere. This gimmick can take you any direction you want to go. But the trick, let's say, is your parents' house, your grandparents' house, your friend's house. Just for the sake of, there could be other younger people watching this. I'm not going to do parents. I'll do friend's house. It's a friend's house. So the gimmick is a car. The trick is your friend's house. Are you going to just drive that car to your friend's house? Just there, back, there, back, there, back. That's the only place you're going to drive it? No, of course not. You're going to drive it everywhere you can, to your friend's house, to your grandparents' house, to school, home, the most important, place to go, to the gas station, to the store, to the mall, other hangout spots. Just there's so many places you can go with the gimmick. So many places you can go with the car. That's not just the trick, not just to your friend's house. There are many other places you can go. The only thing that you need to do is think of it. Yes, someone else thought of it. But Chris Ramsey said this in one of his videos, that when you get the gimmick, don't look at the video. Don't look at the tutorial video. Figure out how it works yourself. And once you figure out how it works, then you can use it in many different innovative ways without ever having to use the video, without having to use the routine that they're showing you. And that is an amazing thing of advice for any upcoming magician. I wish I could hold true to this more than I know I do, but in reality, some people who do it as a hobby, as an amateur, someone who loves doing it, they don't think about, different ways of doing it at the moment. They think about it after the fact, and by then they've probably gotten distracted with YouTube or going to a friend's house or anything. So they don't sit down and think about different ways to perform the same trick or use the same gimmick. So you have to remember, there is many different ways to perform the same trick, and there's many different ways to use one gimmick. So the thing that I've written was, the trick is the crutch. The trick is the crutch. The gimmick is the gateway. The magic is your fantasy. And that pretty much, I've already explained the trick and the gimmick. The trick is literally what gets you there. What gets you used to the gimmick. It's what, shows you this is something that it can do. The gimmick allows you to get anywhere. You can do a lot of different things with the same gimmick, provided you know how to use it. Of course, as I said, there are gimmicks that only allow you to do one thing. Like, say, the cigarette through coin. That's, I mean, pretty much all it is just a hole in the coin. You can only do so much with that. Like, you can only put a cylinder object, a cigarette, a Sharpie, a pencil, sometimes not even a Sharpie, it'll only fit a cigarette, and pretty much a mechanical or lead pencil, graphite pencil. And that's pretty much all you can do. The point is to get versatile gimmicks. So there's a lot of different things you can do with that. The magic is your fantasy. Literally, what is magic? How would you explain magic? Magic doesn't exist in this world. Magic exists in your mind, in your fantasy. You may not see it as magic. I know myself, I see it I am very meticulous. I don't see things as tricks. I don't see things as magic anymore. I see things as tricks and variants of doing it. Whenever I see somebody do a double lift, where they're pulling down two cards from a spread that's somewhat like, I cannot do it. When they're pulling down two cards, it's kind of simple for me to see, when they're doing that. Oh, that's a double lift right there, because everybody does it. But when you take a card and you kind of choreograph it like that, again, it looks like a double lift. Because think about it, when you turn over one card, what do? You just flip it over. That's it. You don't think about it. So that's kind of what you need to make your double lift look like. Like, you don't care. And if you can find a way to do it without revealing the other card underneath it, then that's better. So, the worst part about being a magician is that you're a magician. The worst part of being a magician in magic is the fact that you're the magician. It's not that you're the one who presents magic to everyone else. It's the fact that you don't believe in magic anymore. That childlike wonder that you once had when you first watched magic, where you thought, whoa, that is literally impossible. That's gone, because you've seen so much about it. So you have to think about it. Well, you know exactly how it's done. No one else does. And that's the magic that you need to harness right there. Because I'm sure, like a lot of you, I personally do magic to see the amazement in someone's face, where you're able to, where you're able to take a card, and with just a little, you show it with just a little rub, it changes completely. It's something simple that not a lot of people realize. But just because they don't realize it doesn't mean that's not magic. Because if you don't know what's happening there, that looks like real magic. All you're doing is just rubbing the card and it's changing. So you have to think about it. You want them to experience the magic. So you don't want to do something that they don't understand, and you don't want to do something that that they can figure out either. Because the fact that, like, I know that there are quite a few people, I don't like I enjoyed performing magic in my school. A lot of people enjoy me performing magic. What I don't like is the fact that a lot of people try to figure out the trick. The point of magic is not to figure out the trick, it's to be amazed. Magicians judging other magicians, that's kind of, you can't prevent that. People are definitely going to do that, especially when you're a magician. You're trying to figure out how the other magician did it, you're trying to figure out what different ways you could have done it. No, what laymen, they do that as well, but they don't have the extensive knowledge that magicians do. They're like, oh, he must have had two cards there, but how do you switch it though? Like with David Blaine's hand switch, a lot of people think, oh, it was a duplicate card. There's two cards in there. Okay, so. And you either gloss over it or you palm off a card like, no, there's only the one card, that's it. And like at that moment, you're hiding. That's not a bad thing in some cases, but now it's just you eliminate the one possibility of how the trick worked. The only possibility on how the trick worked, by getting rid of the duplicate, and without them, thinking about the fact of you have a duplicate, they don't see a second card of the same, so that literally became impossible right then and there. Pretty much, it's just the fact that a lot of people don't appreciate magic for what it is anymore. a lot of people see magic as a trick. They don't see it as astonishment. They don't see it as the impossible. Which is why families of magicians, yeah, they are no longer impressed about the fact that of anything you do. I know this as a fact. I recently got Parapad by Paralabs, and pretty much like I performed it for my family, or at least like my stepfather from my immediate family, and it didn't shock him that I figured out how it was done, or that I figured out how that I figured out what he was thinking of. It didn't shock him about that, because when you perform different kinds of tricks, it's at some point you're pretty much performing the same trick in a different way. And that is literally a lot of magic. It's the same trick, and it's different gimmicks to get to that same trick. Which is why that I kind of find it a little weird. Because pretty much magicians are making it easier for themselves to find out something while still baffling other people. So something that I'm not a big fan about mentalism, it's just like all you're doing is, like, for example, all you're doing is figuring out what somebody is thinking. Like, you could use something like an impression device, or you can use something like the center tear. But if you could use something as simple as the center tear, why pay money to do anything else? I mean, yeah, all of this is way more impressive, but, it's simple. Like, you're tearing a card, or you're tearing a piece of paper in pieces, and you're like, confetti, yay! And as everybody's looking at confetti, you're looking at the center tear, you're just like, oh, that's what it is. And if it's that simple, why bother with anything else? So, you have to think of it. Is a gimmick really worth the price that you're paying? Do you have anything else you can relate it to? And if you think that this is truly going to be better than anything you have, then yeah, I get it. But if you honestly have doubt in it, that you think that your trick, that the gimmick that you already have, is going to stay within your repertoire and be better than this, why waste money on it? I know for a fact that I've been at fault for that. I used to have Yagil Masika's card to wallet, and that didn't work out very well for me. Or not that it didn't work out. I wanted a new wallet because that wallet got really bent. So I switched it in for the Trinity wallet. Now, the Trinity wallet is $100. I was not impressed at all with the Trinity wallet. It didn't hold all of my things the way I wanted it to, and the card load for the way that you load a card into it, if you are off, even by a little bit, the card is showing on one side or the other, and really? So I ended up wasting $100, and eventually I got the real man's wallet for, I think $40, and it's, like, I have it on me constantly. It is my everyday wallet. A lot of people have commented about being too bulky. I don't notice it. I literally stuffed my wallet because the fact that I have money on both sides, one side being profit, the other being my actual money. I have rubber bands. I have a fortune teller gimmick from, not gimmick, but fortune teller trick from Daniel Garcia. I have cards in different places. And I pretty much, I one time put a balloon in there, but, I got sick and tired of people asking me if it was a condom every time I blew it up, so I stopped putting balloons in there. Yeah, don't buy the clear balloons. So it's the fact that, I know I'm repeating myself at this point. The video is on been 43 minutes and almost 10 seconds right about now. So it's the fact that, I know for a fact I'm repeating myself. And if you guys have watched it all this way, you've seen my rambling, thank you, I guess. for, watching an idiot ramble on for 43.5 minutes. If you were to take anything away from this video, and I know I only got into it 15 minutes ago, but if you were to take anything away from this video, it is what I said. The trick is the crutch. The gimmick is the gateway. The magic is your fantasy. Keep that in mind forever. And I'm sure one day you'll end up being an amazing magician. I can easily continue talking, but I'm gonna drag this out for another 15 or 30 minutes, and I do not want to do that, especially because I have to leave in about 10 minutes. So, just keep that in mind. And I'll say it for a third time, and I'll definitely put it into the description. And that's probably going to be the only thing in the description. Just keep it in mind. The trick is one thing. The gimmick can get you everywhere. And the magic is what you make of it. The trick is the crutch. The gimmick is the gateway. The magic is your fantasy. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you did, leave a like, comment, subscribe down below. Doesn't really matter to me, and I will see you guys next time.